Happy New Year's Eve. Wow. An entire year has gone. 12 months, 365 days, and for the mathematicians they may calculate hours and seconds. But when we reflect on the last year, 2009, what a year was it? Look around, look at the person next to you, look at your family members, and think how many of us in this audience, or that will be looking at this broadcast, would think, 1 year ago I did not have a child, but tonight as I celebrate this Thanksgiving on Old Year's night, I am grateful for that child. How many a year ago would have had a secure job, and based on the financial meltdown globally, today is in a different position? And there are some whose situation is reversed, where a year ago they may have not known where their next bread would have been coming from, but tonight they give thanks for their Lord's mercies in their life. Who would have thought 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and even more than that, 20 years ago, that the United States of America would have had a black American president? And today, on Old Year's Eve, on Old Year's night, on New Year's Eve, 2009, the world has seen 1 year of change. Who would have thought, at the start of the year, January 1st this year, that the relationships that we would have treasured in our life, some of it tonight, we would have experienced challenged relationships. And those that would have been less than desirable tonight, some people are giving thanks and praising God for forming those relationships. Tonight I ask you, is your health where you wanted it to be? Are you better off today than you were 1 year ago? Or are you differently able tonight? You see, one of the things that is constant in life, it is that which is called change. This morning I asked a friend, I said, what do you consider the highlight of your life? And you know what she said? I can't think of one. And I said, no, when I ask about highlights, it is not things that you can celebrate and be happy about, but a highlight is something that was profound, that stood out in your year. And she said, well, my aunt passed away, and I'm very sad about that. And I said, you know that that's one of the highlights in my year as well? Within the last couple months, my Aji also passed away, and that was a highlight in my year as well. And she said, don't you think that that is something to feel sorry about, that brings pain to your life? When you reflect, is that really a positive highlight? And having thought about it for a while, I said yes. My Aji's passing, the passing of my Aji, was a positive highlight in my life. But when I reflect, did I experience sorrow? Of course I did. But having seen her in her last few weeks of her life, I came to terms, as well as the rest of the family, came to terms thinking that it was time. She had made amends with her master and maker, and it was time to go back and relieve herself from the physical pains that she was experiencing. But more than that, the celebration that I have is to see that in performing the final sanskars for her, the family, in dealing with some of the emotional turmoils, we would have been able to manage and get past some of those difficult situations. And for me, the climax and the highlight of my Aji's passing is in the life that is left behind in my Aja. And I'm sharing this with you because you will have your story to tell as well. For he experienced loss and he experienced sorrow and grief. But on Christmas morning, he called me from Chicago. He said, grandchild, how are you doing? I said, Aja, I'm alright. He says, it's cold here, man. I said, well, do you know that Christmas morning I would have been by your house? And then if my Nana and Nani were alive, I would have been by their house. And then I would have visited the in-laws. But today, I don't have any grandparents to visit. Come back home sooner, Aja. I want to come visit you. Christmas morning, New Year's morning, it is the ritual to be by your house. And he said to me, he said, grandchild, you have made my day. Why? because you have given me something to look forward to, in that my health is not good, but now I have reason to take better care of myself. And why am I sharing that with you? It took the passing of an Aji, it took the passing away of a loved one in my family to strengthen the bond with another member whose bond, that relationship, was ordinary, if you may say that. And like this, when you reflect on your life 1 year ago, reflect on things that were good or great, or things that were not so good for you, relationships that were challenged, and find, in hindsight, ponder, introspect, and ask yourself, today, are you better? Are you a better person because of those situations? And even those moments that would have brought pain, would have brought hurt, would have been disappointing for you, those are also opportunities for making your life better, making your personality, your trait, your bedrock should become stronger and better because of it. There was a gentleman by the name of Frank Lloyd Wright. He was a designer. He used to design buildings. And he was asked by a gentleman, and the question was, of the many beautiful designs that you would have had, which one is your favorite? Of all the beautiful designs that you would have had in your life, which one is your favorite? And you know what he said? He said, my favorite would be the next one. What beautiful words. He says, out of all the designs that I had in my lifetime, all the massive buildings and structures, my most favorite, it is the next one. You see, what Mr. Wright had right. He understood the principle of stretching his imagination. He understood the principle of constantly pressing forward. But more than that, he was never satisfied simply with past experiences. I ask you tonight, are you pleased with who you are and what you have achieved in the last year? And some of us may say, yes, Babs, I am pleased. But I remind you tonight, in discussing and preparing and projecting yourself for 2010, although you are satisfied with what you have done and accomplished in the past, know that tomorrow should be your best. And the thinking behind that statement, it is knowing and behaving in such a way that you are inculcating continuous improvement. The Germans say Kaizen. Kaizen means I must live my life in such a way that today must be better than I was yesterday. And tomorrow I should be better than I am today.